This weekend, I don't have any clients' cars. I want to clean my wife's car up. It's been forever. And I wanted to talk about, I guess, our early retirement progress. But this is it's a 2024 BMW iX. This is the X50i. But this basically has the same specs, has the same performance specs as the X5 M60. So like 525 horse, 0 to 60, like 4.5, I think. It's pretty quick. It's an EV, so it drives goofy, but it accelerates fast, like most EVs do. But this is the very controversial front end. The reviews are extremely mixed on it. I mean, it doesn't bother me. I like the bronze package. That was a must-have when I was looking for cars or models. But it has a bronze there. The interior has a little bit, and then this front grille is bronze. Otherwise, it's silver. I feel like the bronze looks so much better. But this is oxide gray metallic. It does have the luxury pack, which gives you this wood grain, soft closed doors. I don't know what else. I drive 8. These are the standard seats. I wish we would have gotten the fancier seats, but we just couldn't find it. Oh yeah, glass controls, that's part of exec. And then a pretty big back seat, bigger than the X5. A little dirty for my daughter. Dark as hell in here. It's got the big pano roof. But like most EVs, they don't hold their value for shit. Like it's comical how bad these things depreciate. This was a 24. We bought it in December of 24 for $65,000, call it. And this car had a 102 sticker. So 10,000 miles, CPO, depreciated 40 grand. But we bought this car in Nashville, Tennessee. We drove the 7 hours for it. There wasn't a lot of I don't know, we looked for maybe 2 months, 3 months. Not a crazy long time, but we had to go out of state just because of the ones in Charlotte at Hendrick and some of the other dealers were really marked up. They wanted big money for them, and it didn't make any sense. This car has a full hood PPF, front end, front bumper, mirrors, headlights, and then Geon Infinite and top coat. But this car replaced a 2018 X5 50i with, I think it had like 45,000 miles on it. Same thing, we bought that car a couple years old, 10,000 miles. Bought this one with 10,000 miles. Bought the Macan with 10,000 miles used, a year old. I like that age point. Except for the Macan. The Macan wasn't really discounted off sticker. That was still too close to COVID, but The X5 we got a good deal on. This, I'm happy with the deal we got on it, given the options and everything. But I did buy the extended warranty. I never buy extended warranties. But this thing, like with an EV, you're stuck at the dealer. I can't go to an indie shop for something electrical or whatever. So got the extended warranty. It's covered until actually September of 2030. Unlimited miles. You know, that was 2,800 bucks maybe. I know I beat her up on the price. So I think out the door with taxes and the warranty and stuff, we were right a little above 70, maybe 71,000. Not too bad. We traded in, or no, I sold her X5 to CarMax. X5 was paid off. We never had a loan on that car. I sold that to CarMax for 30 in Nashville, and then we drove down the street and bought this. So we traded the car in. I wrote a check for 15 grand for an additional down payment. So we financed like just under 30, 60 months. It's at like a 6% rate, I think like 6.2% rate. So the monthly payments on this are right at $505. Now we bought this car in December. I did finance, you know, less than 30 grand at $505. I've been making at least 2, if not 3 payments a month. So my current balance is, it's like $18,900. I'm trying to get this thing paid off. I can't stand having car debt. The Macan's been paid off since like 23. The Macan's been paid off for a couple of years now. So I do finance this car through another side hustle that's more finance based. It has nothing to do with detailing. But my goal is to have this paid off by, you know, definitely by the end of next year, maybe sooner, but you know, there's an opportunity cost for prepaying these car loans, just like prepaying the mortgage at a low rate. So I try to balance, you know, that opportunity cost versus just the psychological aspect of not having any car debt. I don't like monthly payments. That's a problem for me. All I do is think about it. Like every day I think about this balance. Yeah, but this is the only monthly payment I have. So I think about it too much. We're just going to top a Geon Cure for giggles. It doesn't need it, but we're here. Okay, so that's my car. That's my car situation. You know, it's tricky because I like cars, you know. I window shop for cars too much. But it's important to, stay on track. All right, so my primary goal right now is to pay this thing off. Just get rid of it. Get rid of that car payment, and then, that frees up another $1,000 a month that you can start dumping into the market, and I get way more satisfaction, buying ETFs, buying stocks, selling puts, whatever, than I do driving cars. We'll get this car sorted, and then I'll figure out the Macan. I don't know what the right answer for that is yet. I want to bring the price point down. But that's a next year problem at least. Maybe even beyond that. But the real thing I'm trying to focus on and figure out is how can we retire early? So I want to be in a place where we can retire, at least from our corporate jobs, when my daughter graduates high school. She's in 2nd grade. So everything, at least for the last year, has been focused on what is that going to take? Where are we going to live? What are we going to do for those bridge years before you can tap your 401ks and IRAs and other stuff without penalty and to get the full value? So that means I need to rely on, my taxable brokerage accounts. And last year, after the election, when stocks ran up, I liquidated everything. Because everything was in growth stocks, they were in single name companies, heavy tech, some crap I didn't like that I was bag holding that finally broke even, just a mixed bag of stuff, call it that COVID period where everything was just weird. So I sold everything and I started rebalancing. And I started reading about, total return, as opposed to, just a price appreciation mindset, where total return has you thinking about, distributions plus maybe a little bit of price appreciation. And how, these dividend stocks or distribution stocks or ETFs can produce that income. So one of the books I read was called it's called the Income Factory, and it's about 5 years old, but it's still relevant. The author does a really good job of communicating total return and how to think of income factories as producing that distribution, and to kind of change your mindset away from just growth. So I started buying income-producing ETFs this year as part of this, trial run to see how that would look. I wanted to see, what do these distributions look like? How stable is it? What does the net asset value do over time? What are the taxes? Right? That's a big component, that if you're not used to selling stocks and, and realizing, gains, it could be a big wake-up call. My current, main account is focused on round hill ETFs and REX. Oops, it scared me. NEOS funds. Like my core holding is in NEOS QQQI. That's been historically producing about a 14% annualized return. They pay monthly distributions. A lot of weekly pairs, which are pretty fun. You get that dopamine hit every week. Every day I have funds that are paying at least something. I dabbled with some Yield Max. I still have it. That's definitely a different animal. It requires much more reinvestment of capital than some of these other funds. All this stuff is a trade-off. If you want a high distribution, you're going to take a hit in share price. And you're going to be forced to reinvest some of those distributions. Now, where these NEOS funds and Rex shares and Nicholas funds, these are all option leveraged ETFs where they are generating income by either buying options or selling options, whatever. So it's a different animal. And we've been in a crazy bull market for a good bit now. And these funds are just accelerating and doing really well. But the question is, in a bear market, your losses are going to be exaggerated as compared to the underlyings just because of that leverage. But I'm trying to stay in ETFs that I like the long-term plan on. So regardless if they drop 20% in value, I still like it and I should be excited about that drop in price so I could lower my yield on cost. There's definitely been times this year where I've been chasing yield and, you get a little drunk over it. And when those tank, you're kind of reevaluating your thinking and you don't want to be in them anymore. And when that happens, like I've been selling stuff, some ETFs for a loss this year, which is annoying. But I'm trying not to bag hold anything. And then my other cash flow idea is I invested in 2 hedge funds this year. Now, the first hedge fund, I think it was May was my first month, and then the second hedge fund, actually August was my first month. So I did get full month statements. So for last month, for August, the first hedge fund did 3.8% net after fees for the month. Right? What is that? 3.8 times 12. So that's 45.6% annualized. Like that's a solid return. Now I can get there with some of my ETFs as well, but I do like this as a diversification play. And then the second hedge fund did better. It has lower fees, but I did 5.94%. What's that one? All right, so I came out to 71%. Now, if that holds, right, the law of 72 says I would double my money in a year. But that's being very optimistic. But regardless, both these two have been, fun to track. And that's where I parked a lot of detailing money that I've been saving for, a couple years. My plan is to let it just drip and just leave it alone. Hopefully in 10 years it gets to this dollar amount that my spreadsheets are saying, and then I can just withdraw monthly from it, and that will be a source of income. So my idea is these 2 funds plus my taxable brokerage, plus side hustles, that'll be our bridge year. It's definitely more interesting to read what other folks are thinking about, in terms of early retirement and like how to survive. But I'm definitely not doing the 4% rule. I'm not following that. I don't want to sell stocks to gain cash. I want to live off the distributions. Interior's done. Finish up the outside. But yeah, that's the stuff I think about. You know, it's I don't know. It's got to be age, right? I'm definitely getting older where, you know, where buying stuff doesn't, you know, give me the, you know, dopamine rush that it used to. But we'll see. I've been a little risk off lately. I put like 10% of my taxable account into T-bills, or into an ETF that tracks T-bills. Mainly because I don't like buying tops. I don't like buying it at highs. Like Apple hit all-time high, you know, 245. I don't want to buy up there. And I don't want to buy ETFs that are, you know, that are trading so far above their, you know, 50-day average, 200-day averages. So we'll see if it plays out, but, you know, 10% in, you know, T-bill equivalent ETFs. So, you know, if we do get a pullback, I'm definitely gonna, you know, dump it all back in. But I don't know. We'll see what happens. Okay, that's all I got. Just some rambling on a Saturday afternoon, trying to get my wife's car cleaned up. But I don't know when I'm gonna get another client car. I needed a break, even though I'm washing a car right now. This is stress-free. So, all right, see ya.